Hey everyone, Josiah here. Welcome back to the Sakudo YouTube channel. Beating Pokemon Black with only an Exploud was a pretty easy one. I swept through most of the game, and like the Executor challenge, the final few battles were where the biggest challenges were. Moving on, today we will find out if I can beat Pokemon Platinum with one Breloom. Before I explain the rules, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think it's possible to beat Platinum with one Breloom? It's most likely possible, but I'm gonna need to watch out for flying type Pokemon because Breloom's quadruple weak to flying types. Real quick, let's look at Breloom's stats. Breloom's stats are relatively good and spread out except his attack stats. His attack stat is extremely good with a base stat of 130. His learn set, however, is pretty limited. His leveling up learn set is extremely limited with only grass, normal, and fighting type moves. His TM learn set is a bit better. He learns some rock type moves along with some poison moves, but it's still not great. Now let's get into the rules. I can only use Breloom in battle, HM Pokemon are allowed. No items in battle such as potions and other restoration items. Held items are allowed, however. No glitches or exploits unless you count the Universal Pokemon Randomizer. And that's about it. Let's start this run. To start this run off, I named myself Whack. I don't even need to explain this. I named my rival Mobster because, honestly, that was just the first thing that came to mind when I saw his face. Now time to get my starter. I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer and replaced Piplup with Breloom. And I know that might seem a bit cheap because now the rival NPC will register that I've picked Piplup and choose Turtwig. And you'd be right for thinking that. It was completely cheap, I don't really care. After picking my starter, Mobster wants to fight. Since he picked Turtwig, this fight will be a pretty long one, because at this point in the run, Turtwig only knows Withdraw and Tackle. I start this fight with Stun Spore to get those extra free turns, but he doesn't get fully paralyzed for the majority of this extremely long fight. Turtwig uses Withdraw for like 10 turns in a row, and even when he actually attacks, it does barely any damage. Because Turtwig's defense was so high from all those withdraws, my attacks also did barely any damage. Eventually, I knock out Turtwig and this hell of a battle was over. I make my way to the first town and into the trainer's school for some extra levels. Because I got the TM for return so early, I won't have to worry about it late game. The first schoolboy only has a Starly, and I set up a Leech Seed to stay at a stable health throughout the fight. Breloom's abilities affect Spore, meaning when Breloom is hit by a physical attack, one of three things will happen. The foe will be poisoned, paralyzed, or slept. This ability would be very helpful during this run, except most of the moves in Platinum are special type. Anyways, the second trainer had a bit oof, so this fight was pretty quick. Before I can challenge the first gym, Mobster wants another fight. In this fight, he only has a Starly in addition to his original Turtwig. I knock out the Starly really quickly, and I crit the Turtwig almost immediately with return, but not before Turtwig's paralyzed by my effect Spore. Honestly, the rival in this gen is really loud and extra, but he has pretty good character development along with his well-rounded team. I find Rourke in the mines south of Orbrick City and challenge him to a fight. I have to go back to the actual gym first because I don't think it counts as a gym battle if you're not actually in the gym. For a first gym leader, 3 Pokemon is a bit abnormal because the majority of first gym leaders only have 2 Pokemon. This fight took me nearly 10 minutes to actually complete because all of Rourke's Pokemon are extremely tanky, especially for a first gym. Meaning, this fight took forever to set up Leech Seed and use Absorb to whittle down his Pokemon's health. Eventually, I take out his Pokemon and get my first gym badge. I have to take out several Team Galactic grunts before I can challenge Commander Mars. She has 2 Pokemon including a Zubat and her god-forbidden Purugly. Her Zubat takes me down to around half health, but I take it out relatively quickly. Purugly tries to attack me without much success, and Effect Spore sleeps her. I gain back most of my health lost by Zubat with Giga Drain, and I take her out with Return. I help Cheryl get through the forest right before Eterna City. I eventually make it to Gardenia's gym and challenge her. Gardenia's Pokemon include Turtwig, Roserade, and Sharon. I get paralyzed relatively early, but I get pretty lucky with full paralysis. I take out each of her Pokemon, but not after dropping all the way down to 8 health. After I make my way into Hearthome City, I immediately challenge Fantina's gym. Actually, beating the gym leader wasn't the hardest part, the gym's puzzle was the hard part. I was constantly trying to avoid the trainers in the gym because Breloom isn't the greatest against ghost Pokemon, and once I get to Fantina, I challenge her. I almost immediately get burned by Will-O-Wisp and I get my health pecked down, ultimately being taken out by her Haunter. This fight takes me about 15 attempts, so just enjoy a little montage of me dying. After many attempts, I challenge Fantina once again. I didn't mention this earlier, but Fantina has a Duskull, Haunter, and Mismagius. Since Duskull has Will-O-Wisp, I'm constantly getting burnt, and by the way, if you didn't realize it yet, Breloom's part grass type, meaning I take massive damage at the end of every turn due to burn. I take out Duskull and Haunter eventually, and then Mismagius is sent out. Mismagius does a lot of damage with Psybeam because, again, Breloom is part fighting type, so I take major damage from psychic moves. I whittle her down little by little with Mega Drain, and I gain back my health. Eventually, I take her out with only 19 HP left, securing my 3rd gym badge. I start making my way towards Veilstone City when I run into my rival, and of course he wants another fight. In this fight, Mobster has a Staravia, Ponyta, Buizel, and Grottle. I spam Sky Uppercut on Staravia until it actually hits, because when it does hit, it'll immediately KO. After taking out Staravia, I spam Headbutt and take out the rest of Mobster's team. Without any major events after the rival fight, I challenged the fighting type gym. This gym was a bit of a challenge to get through, but once I figure it out, I challenged Maylene. In this gym, Maylene has a Meditite, Machoke, and Lucario. Meditite immediately flinches me with Fake Out, but I get my revenge the very next turn with Headbutt. Lucario tries something similar by using Drain Punch, but it gets paralyzed by my Effect Spore, so I can take him out with Sky Uppercut. Machoke was also pretty easy to take out with Sky Uppercut, and a little disclaimer. Don't use Sky Uppercut regularly because it's extremely inconsistent even though it has 90% accuracy. Sky Uppercut is either get a super lucky inconsistent one-shot or get one-shot. Right before Crasher Wake's gym battle, Mobster literally runs into me for another battle. He doesn't have any changes to his team from the last battle with him, so this is probably going to go the exact same way as it did the last time we fought him. And as I expected, I completely sweep his team and move on to the gym. Now for Crasher Wake's battle. Water's obviously weak to grass type, so this fight's going to be an easy one. Gyarados takes several Seed Bombs and Mega Drains to take out, but nobody can survive the almighty Breloom. Buizel Ice Fangs me right off the bat, doing a lot of damage, but is ultimately paralyzed by my Effect Spore. Buizel doesn't have to suffer much paralysis because I immediately take it out with Seed Bomb. Quagsire is also taken out immediately by Seed Bomb because he's quadruple weak to grass, whereas the other 2 Pokemon are only 2 times weak to grass. In the Celestic Ruins, Cyrus challenges me to a fight for the first time. I'm not going to explain much in this battle because I'm killed pretty quickly by Golbat's Air Slash, which is 4 times effective on Breloom. All I'm going to say is this is nowhere near the hardest Cyrus fight in this game for Breloom. In Canalave City, Barry challenges us again. His team has had a major upgrade since the last time we fought him. For example, he now has a Staraptor, Heracross, Floatzel, Rapidash, and Torterra. I get insanely lucky with Staraptor when I 1. Outspeed Staraptor, 2. Hit Sky Uppercut, and 3. Staraptor uses Double Team so I'm not demolished by a flying type move. For the rest of the fight, I one or two shot each of his Pokemon, securing the victory. I get through Canalave City's gym, and it wasn't very challenging to figure out compared to some of the other gyms. I challenged Byron, and honestly, if Rourke is really Byron's son, I really hope Rourke looks like his mom, or else I have some bad news for Byron. Byron has a Magnemite, Steelix, and Bastiodon. So, if you couldn't tell, this is a Steel gym. I spammed Sky Uppercut, and surprisingly, I hit 3 out of the 3 Sky Uppercuts used, winning the 6th gym. After a lot of attempts against Commander Saturn, I finally get this one attempt. By the way, Saturn has a Golbat, Toxicroaks, and Bronzor. The reason this fight took so many attempts was because Golbat has flying type moves, which, like I said earlier, is 4 times effective against Breloom. When I'm not immediately KO'd by Golbat, Toxicroaks will poison me and then completely obliterate me with Poison Jab. In this fight, I 2-shot Golbatting Toxicroaks at the cost of being poisoned and 133 HP. I go for an extremely risky Sky Uppercut on Bronzor, and it pays off, securing the victory. After Mobster gets completely flamed by Commander Mars at Lake Verity, I take her on. In this fight, she has a Golbat, Bronzor, and Purugly. I one-shot both Golbat and Bronzor, and now it's time for the dreaded Purugly. I do pretty big damage, but it takes 2 turns and almost half my health to ultimately take it out. I track my frostbit butt through miles of thick 5-foot deep snow to finally get to Snow Point City. Snow Point's gym wasn't too hard to figure out, but it was a bit difficult avoiding the trainers scattered throughout the gym. Candace did take me a couple of tries because ice is 2 times effective against grass, so I wasn't in the greatest situation. I finally get some common sense and teach Breloom Rock Tomb, which is 2 times effective against ice. By the way, Candace has a Sneasel, Frostlass, Piloswine, and Obama-Snow. And yes, I know I said Obama-Snow, I'm sticking with that. I one-shot her entire team because of either good Quick Claw luck or just barely the right amount of damage. By the way, just try saying that first sentence of that last paragraph 5 times fast. I bet you can't do it. At the Team Galactic headquarters, I challenged Cyrus. This fight took me about 3 to 27 times to beat because, like last battle against him, Breloom is extremely weak to his team. There aren't any major changes to his team besides the levels and Crobat replacing Golbat. This fight was very difficult, which is reasonable because Crobat is very strong. Anyways, this was the only attempt that I successfully got past Crobat, successfully got past Toxicroak, and successfully got past Bronzor. So there's really not much to explain about this fight. I go find Commander Saturn down the hall from Cyrus, which actually doesn't make much sense, whereas putting the Saturn battle before the Cyrus battle makes way more sense. Like Cyrus, Saturn's team doesn't have too much difference from the last time we fought him. Golbat wasn't much of a problem, nor was Bronzor, and Toxicroaks actually took us down all the way to 54 HP, along with poisoning us, but the poison doesn't really matter too much because the fight was already over. Right before we can stop Cyrus from releasing Giratina on the world, we have to fight along Mobster, our rival, against Commander Jupiter and Mars in a double battle. Both Jupiter and Mars have a Golbat, Bronzor, and their signature Pokemon being Purugly and Skuntank. This fight wasn't too significant because we basically swept both of their teams extremely quickly. In the Distortion world, I find Cyrus for the final battle against him. The last battle against him was a bit of an exaggeration. It didn't actually take 27 attempts. Instead, it took around 9 attempts. This battle, however, took 42 attempts. It took 41 resets and Pokemon Center runs to finally get this attempt. His team has had an extreme upgrade from the last time we fought him by adding Gyarados, Houndoom, and Weavile. I know I didn't mention his Honchkrow in the Team Rocket HQ fight, and that was just my mistake. Anyways, I only won this fight by spending hours grinding Breloom in the nursery and extreme luck. If you didn't believe me earlier, By now, you should be convinced that Breloom is extremely weak to Cyrus's team. Here, I just catch Giratina with a Master Ball because honestly, I don't have a choice, and if I didn't catch it, I risked dying to it. And by the way, I didn't save before Giratina, meaning I would have had to do the entire Cyrus fight over again, and I seriously did not want to do that. Now that I can finally enter Sunny Shore City, I can challenge the gym. Flint runs into me and asks me to challenge the gym, which obviously I was going to do anyways. I go find Volkner emoing it out at the lighthouse tower looking place and tell him I want to challenge him. He accepts obviously, but could you just imagine if he said no and the game just ended there? This fight took me one attempt before the attempt on your screen because of bad RNG, so it's really not worth showing you or explaining the previous battle. Anyways, Volkner has a Jolteon, Raichu, Luxray, and Electivire, so obviously he's an electric type gym leader. This fight wasn't too eventful, though I did get paralyzed at the very end of the battle, which didn't matter too much because the battle was already over. Now for the final rival fight. Right before I can challenge the Elite Four, Mobster challenges me. His only addition to his team is Snorlax, so there isn't too much to worry about. Like a lot of battles in this run, there were several attempts before the one on your screen. I sweep most of his team when Torterra comes out, and like Cyrus's Honchkrow, I didn't mention Torterra earlier, and that's again my mistake. Torterra does some pretty big damage to Breloom, but is ultimately taken out. A little disclaimer before the Elite Four starts, I'm going to be doing the same thing I did for the Exploud run, where I'm going to show you the best attempt of each Elite Four member, and showing you how many attempts it took for each Elite Four member, so you don't have to sit through 45 minutes of just Elite Four attempts. So just enjoy this little montage of me beating the game. Thank you guys so much for watching this far. This challenge was actually pretty difficult, so let me know what you guys thought of it. I really like when these videos that take forever to make pay off, so if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you get notified whenever I upload. And that's about it for me. I'll see you in the next video.